Okay, so in this part of the round zip bags sew along, we are going to be talking about how to add a storage hack to the inside of your round zip bag. So you may love your round zip bag and that's great, but maybe you want some extra storage on the inside, and that is totally understandable. So I'm going to walk you through how to hack this to add some storage into your round zip bag. So what you need to do is cut all of your fabric pieces as you normally would for the original pouch. You're also going to want to follow the instructions for tacking your zipper and for interfacing things. But what we're going to do is we're actually going to add some extra interfacing, and we're going to add an extra piece of fabric that allows us to have kind of like a little storage pocket. So cut everything normally and then set aside your upper, your round parts, your handle, all of the parts except your lower zipper pieces. Those are the pieces that you want to keep with you. Once you've isolated your pattern pieces, what you need to do is actually cut two of these lower zipper lining fabrics. You're going to cut two of these because one of these we're going to turn into some little storage pockets, okay? So mine's just going to be a solid pink pocket, and I'm going to get this cut. You'll also want to make sure that you cut a piece of interfacing for that lining fabric, because we need these little pouches to be as stable, or sorry, the little storage pouches to be as stable as possible in order for everything to stay organized and in its place. You also want to cut an extra one of the lining for the lower zipper fabric piece, pattern piece, and you want to cut an extra one of the interfacing for the lower zipper piece. So this piece that I'm cutting right now is going to be my interior little pouch pockety things. Now repeat that process and cut one with interfacing on it. And then what you're going to do is interface the pattern piece that is the lining. So that's going to be this pink gingham fabric. That's going to be the piece that I interface. The solid pink piece is going to be my storage pocket. So let's go do that now. I have just interfaced my lining piece on the wrong side. Now, just to give you an idea of what we're going to be doing here with these storage pockets, because I cut this extra fabric piece the same length as my lining piece, what's going to happen is my storage pocket will be approximately half of the width, or a little bit less than half of the width here, of the main lining piece. And then it will have elastic inside here, we're gonna make a channel, which will make it so that the pockets are like little elastic pouches for you to slide things in when you're organizing them. So if you want your little pocket to span the entire length of the round zip bag with the elastic, then you are going to need to lengthen this extra piece of fabric that we cut so that it's just longer, about like maybe 1.5 times longer, so that it spans the entire length. This, because when we add the elastic into it, it's gonna shrink a little bit. So this piece will actually end up being a little bit smaller than the entire length of the bag. And that's okay, I'm okay with that. You also need to have this 1/4 inch elastic for the inside of the pouch pockets, and that is, we'll go through kind of the lengths and everything there. So let's move on to the next step. This is optional, but if you want your pocket to have a little bit of additional stability, you could also interface this pocket piece that we just cut. I'm actually not going to do that for now. All right, let's go ahead and get started. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a channel with this pocket piece by folding our fabric over by 1/2 inch and then over by another 1/2 inch. So let's go ahead and do that. You can finger press or iron this down, but what you want to do is just create a channel 1/4 inch, or sorry, 1/2 inch. And I do recommend ironing this down. So we are going to go do that in just a moment after we finger press this. Okay, now repeat that and press it down one more time. Okay, so I've just pressed this. So I've got one crease that's a 1/2 inch and then another crease that's a 1/2 inch. What we're going to do is just very close to the edge, we're going to edge stitch this channel closed, and then we're going to feed our elastic through that channel. So let's go ahead and do that now. Okay, here we go. We're going to be doing that little edge stitch as close to the edge as we can get. Make sure you back stitch on either side too. Okay, so when you finish edge stitching, it should be really close, like I said, to the edge, so you have a nice open channel to feed your elastic. Okay, so grab your elastic, grab a safety pin. If you have one, you should have one. And what we're going to do is cut a length of elastic that will allow us to have some sort of give in the pockets. This will just tighten up the pockets for us. So I should have said this all along. I am making the medium-sized pouch. So the elastic length that I'm recommending is approximately like 3/4 of the length of the actual pattern piece. But you can just eyeball this. Give it a guess based on how much storage you want to have, and go from there. You know, this is not a science, this part. This is a hack, so I don't have exact values to give you, but hopefully this gives you the idea of what to do. So add a safety pin onto the end of your elastic, and now what we're going to do is weave it through, feed it through the channel that we just created. So let's do that now. This may be a little bit challenging at first, getting it started. I'm actually going to safety pin this slightly different. I think that'll help a little bit. And I'm actually going to zoom in, see if this helps you see it. So in one of your channel openings, feed the end of your elastic, and you're going to pull it through the channel that we just created. And if you have another idea for how to make storage pockets, you don't have to follow this hack. This is just the one that I'm recommending based on how I want mine to look. But since this is an off-book hack, you do whatever you prefer. Just make sure you don't lose your other end of the elastic by pulling it through accidentally. So when you start noticing it getting close on the other side, you may want to just clip it or pin it into place so that it doesn't pull through and get stuck. Then you'll have to redo all of your work here. No one wants to have to feed elastic twice, that's for sure. Okay, so I have both sides out. Just make sure you don't get your elastic flipping or anything inside. And what you can do is actually take this end of the elastic and zigzag across it to hold it in place. And then you can adjust the rest of this. So if you want to go do that now, that will kind of hold your elastic in place. Yeah, let's do that. Okay, so I'm not sure if you can actually see this, but I've done a little zigzag across the end to hold my elastic in place while I kind of like jumble this an even amount. And after you make this elastic ruffle pocket, if you find that you're like a little bit unhappy with how long the elastic is or how long the pocket is, you can absolutely cut elastic off the other end, the side that you fed it through. You're not bound to it being the length that I used. What I'm going to recommend is that you position now we're going to position our pouch where in the bag we want it. So if we want it centered on the lining, that's where we're going to put it. So you do want it to be, you're gonna fold the end over that you finished with the elastic. Fold that over a 1/2 inch or 1/4 inch, sorry. 1/4 inch. to kind of finish that raw edge. And then you can clip that in place. Just clip that fold that we just made in place. Okay, now with the other side, if you're happy with your elastic length, go ahead and finish off that elastic piece by zigzagging across the end of it to secure it. Okay, so I've just zigzagged this end of the elastic too, and now I can cut off the little elastic tail we're not gonna need. So now this should be complete. The elastic should be in there. And now on the other side, go ahead and fold that over 1/4 of an inch seam allowance, and the other side over 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. And now I'm going to zoom out here so you can see it. We're going to position this in the center. So we want the pouch to be, the elastic to be taut. So pull it out as much as you can and align the raw edges with the raw edges. But you want the right side of the lining facing up, and you want the wrong side of the pocket touching that. So what I'm going to recommend here is about here is where we'd like to position the one side of the pouch. Which is about 2.5 inches in from the outside. Let's do 2.5. We'll make it easy. Okay, and then you might want to switch over to pinning this in place, since we're kind of pinning on top of these 2 layers. And you want to just make sure that your folded piece, your folded edge is kept down here, that we folded over. And then on the other side, let's do the same thing. Let's go in about 2.5 inches. And we'll pin this in place. So your pocket piece will not sit down right now, and that's quite all right. It doesn't need to. What we're gonna also do here is pin the bottom of this lining to pocket piece in place. So we're gonna pin these raw edges in place because we're going to baste them down. It's a little bit tricky to get it clipped in place with the elastic. But just do what you can. Let's start out by stitching this end and this end down. Okay, we're stitching down the folded edges of the pocket piece. We're just stitching about 1/4 inch from the edge of the piece. The pocket piece, that is. Make sure you back stitch on either side. Okay, so as you can see, I've stitched that down and all my raw edges are encased. I'm going to repeat that for the other side. And once both sides are fixed, we can now go ahead and baste the bottom here. So you're going to be stretching this while you baste it. So expand your stitch length out to as long as of stitch length as you can. And we're going to baste it about 1/4 inch along the bottom. That's just to hold this pocket in place next to the lining. So you'll need to just stretch your elastic as you go so that you don't get any jumbled up fabric. You want to keep your fabric as flat as possible during this basting. Okay. Okay, so this lining piece and this ruffle, or this elastic pouch now that you've created, should be looking more like a pocket or a pouch. What I'd recommend doing though is adding extra storage here to these pouches. So maybe divide your pocket up in equal chunks, or make one larger size pocket, one small one, and then another small one. However you want it to be for the storage that you're creating. But what we're going to do is stitch right across. So with this spread out, if you have pattern weights, this is a really helpful time to grab them, to weigh down. But what you want to do is just decide where you want to stitch and make these little pockets divided. So there'll be little divided pockets with elastic. So you can go do that now. You can also just forget it. You could have one big pocket that's running around. But I do recommend that you at least stitch it down in the center so you have two big pockets. So go ahead and do that now. Okay, so what I've gone ahead and done is separated my pockets into three main compartments here. So I just did a row of stitching right here, row of stitching here, broke this into thirds, and now we've got our main lining piece. So if you're wondering how all this now fits in with the main pouch, what you're going to do is follow the pouch instructions as you did before, as we walked through it before. So you can pop back into the video, the first set of videos showing you how to make the basic pouches and go from there. So what you would need to do is you would start off by attaching the zipper to the upper zipper lining and the main upper zipper. So I'll grab that and show you what I'm talking about here. So you grab these pattern pieces, you would attach your zipper to them, and then from there, when you attach the next part, which is the lower, this is your lining piece. So really just the only thing that's different here is you just want to make sure it's stretched out so that it's flat on the top. But this is the part that you're going to attach to the zipper. So everything should work out. I will go ahead and do that for you. I'll come back here in just a minute and show you exactly what I mean so you can see it. Okay, as promised, I said I would show you what I meant. So you should have your upper zipper pieces assembled. This is my main and this is my lining. And what you're going to do now is repeat that process, but with your pouch and your main. So you're going to find the center of the fabric. Just make sure you stretch it out. Mark it. Find your center of the main after you've done the lining with the organization pouches. Okay, and then find the center of your zipper. That's right there. Okay, so we're going to repeat these steps. The lining should be down, and we want to just keep this stretched out. And then we want to put the centers together. So that's going to be the hardest part, just keeping it stretched out. Keep your centers together, and then keep your centers together here. Align your zipper in between the right sides of your lining and clip in place. And then you're going to stitch the zipper, stitch up the zipper like you just did for the top, the upper piece. Once I get this clipped in place, I'm going to just show you how everything will look once it's all stitched together. I think it will make a lot of sense at that point. So it's gonna be a little bit weird and jumbly because of the elastic, but just bear with it. You should have your lining pieces together and then your mains together, okay? And you're gonna stitch that by the zipper tape. And that's the storage hack. I'll show you how it looks when it's all finished. Okay, so I just want to pop on here and show you how the round zip bag is looking with the storage pocket that we added. So, you know, I went ahead and added my upper and lower parts with the zipper. So from the outside, it looks exactly the same as, you know, the original pouch. And it'll work perfectly fine once I have this all connected. And then from the inside, we have a lovely little set of storage pockets where we can hide little nooks and crannies in there. So when it's all, you know, finished connected here in the circle, you will be able to see that you can stick little things in the storage pockets, and hopefully your elastic will hold all of these things in place. You'll be able to open it, you know, with your zippers and put things in the storage pockets. So I didn't obviously finish making this pouch, so that's why, you know, it's you're not seeing it fully completed. But what you would then go and do is put the top on and the bottom. When I do have this one finished, I will give you a final kind of look over at it so you can just see it, but just wanted to give you a little progress video. Okay, so I'm back. I've finished the round zip bag, medium size, with storage inside. And I just wanted to show you it quickly so you could see how amazing it is with the storage inside once it's all finished. So on the outside, it looks like a regular old round zip bag. But when you open the zippers, what you get is a wonderful little pouch with all these little storage compartments on the bottom. Perfect for storing different nooks. I'm gonna stick my phone in there so you can just see how it kind of like holds my phone in place. I've got this random roll of bias tape, just show you like if we were organizing little sewing supplies, it would be so handy. So, you know, it's a great little thing. Here's some thread I have. Stick it in the pocket, stick a couple threads in the pocket. You can just go to town seeing what all you can put in these little pockets. But what's great is that it just adds a nice little component of organization into these round zip bags for you, and it kind of like holds them in the little nook. So that was what I was going for with the elastic, to kind of get that nice little pouch kind of action. And even when the pockets are full, you can still sew everything up nicely, and it, for the most part, keeps a nice little round shape for you. So I hope you enjoyed that hack, and you're enjoying your little storage pocket. Now, the next part of this sew along we're going to move into is how to make a yarn bowl organizer for with the round zip bags. So if you are a crocheting or knitting fanatic, you may be wondering how you can make this into a yarn ball. So let's get started in the next video on how to do that. Happy sewing!